You know why I would send my camera roll? It's the most trouble. I just haven't got there deleted them yet. One step forward, two steps back. Pose. Okay. One foot, two feet back. Repeat, 2 feet. One foot right, 2 feet left.
2 left feet. 2 left feet. And what was this one? Oh yeah.
Well, no, that's not the app. That's just a picture.
Small talk.
You still have it.
Okay, so if I run out of here, it's just because the vet clinic had to call me back. I'm not trying to make a run for it.
That's right. This, I'm guessing this quiz is going to be over civil liberties. And I want to read you this little story at the first of it, because it does get, and I have a personal story for me. What government does and why it matters. In Portland in 2006, Simon Tam founded what Oregon Music News called the first and only Asian American dance rock band, or Chinatown Dance Rock, as the band prefers. The various members of the band are of Chinese, Taiwanese, Vietnamese, and Filipino descent. In addition to playing at anime conventions and cultural festivals, they are known for their community involvement, battling Asian stereotypes, and supporting young Asian people. They are also known for a First Amendment case over the band's name, The Slants. The name has 3 sources. The first 2 reference the members' slant on life and the guitar chords they use. It actually sounds like a fun 80s new wave kind of band, and it's also a play on words. We can share our personal experiences about what it's like being people of color, our own slant on life, if you will. It's also a musical reference. There's a slant guitar chords we use in the music. The third source was a reclaiming and repurposing of an old ethnic slur about Asian people. We grew up, and the notion of having slanted eyes was always considered a negative thing. Kids would pull out their eyes back in a slant-eyed gesture to make fun of us. I wanted to change it to something that was powerful, something that was considered beautiful, or a point of pride instead. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office had a different view. Tam's application for a trademark on the band's name was rejected as a violation of the disparagement clause of the Lanham Act of 1946, which prohibits trademarks that disparage a racial or ethnic group. So you can't name something, have a trademark that is offensive, obscene or profane or anything. The denial stated that although the applicant or even the entire band may be willing to take on the disparaging term as a band name in what may be considered an attempt to wrest ownership of the term, that, quote, does not mean that all Asian Americans share the applicant's view. The case ultimately went to the Supreme Court, which in 2017 ruled unanimously that the disparagement clause violated the First Amendment's free speech clause. The band could keep the name. Now, are some people offended by that name? Does that mean their rights are violated? No. No. My roommate is from the Philippines. I have 3 roommates. There was Cordell, there was Craig, and there's Guy. Cordell, I see him every once in a while at regional track meets. Did anybody, let me see, two years ago, anybody go to regional track meet 2 years ago? I mean, y'all, anybody, okay. Did you see me hugging an Asian guy? Okay. We had a nickname for Cordell. Being from the Philippines, we called him Saltback because he had to swim the ocean. Now, were we saying that to disparage anybody or make anybody feel bad. We said that because we love you. That's what boys do. You make fun of people. We don't say, I love you. We say, you're ugly. You're ugly too. That's how boys say I love you. Are there people that would be offended by that? Yes, I'm not meaning that. Anyway, we just laugh at Cordell. I just want to make fun of Cordell. That's my goal. And the Supreme Court has said that free speech, as long as it's not, do you remember what I told y'all about the First Amendment? You can say or do whatever you want, as long as you're not infringing, violating people's rights, and you have no right to not be offended. You don't have the right to not be offended. Basically, if it doesn't affect your paycheck, if it doesn't affect your body, if it doesn't destroy your property, it's okay. You don't have to like it. But if it doesn't do any of those things, you have to let people be stupid because you want to be stupid. You know what I'm saying? If I'm going to get mad at Cordell calling me a honky, I can't call him salt back. But I'm not going to get mad when he calls me a honky, which he did. And I said, done. I am, yes. Anyway, civil liberties. There's civil liberties and civil rights. And I have my definition of each one. Bless you. Civil rights guarantee affect your ability to participate in life and how you're treated by the government. So like, if a place won't hire blondes, that's affecting your life. And so you might sue them and go to federal court because they're not hiring you because you're blonde. Civil rights, we'll get to that later.
Wouldn't they go up to the court though? Can a company hire who they want depending on their reasoning?
Yes, however, you can't discriminate, all right? If like the guy wearing, did I tell you about the guy wearing the dress? Did we talk about that? Okay. Can that guy still live and not wear a dress? Yeah. If he's black, can he live and not be black? Yeah. No. That's the big, yeah, they can hire who they want.
Right.
But you can't not hire somebody because of maybe what they are, who they are, right. That kind of thing. But yeah, you can hire who you want. We all discriminate. Well, if I had a business, I'd want to hire good workers with good morals that would do a good job. I want to discriminate against idiots that don't work and don't, So let's look here. Let me see what else we got. Got the Bill of Rights. Let me see. Here's something we might talk about. I've never heard of this. Let's see. Selective incorporation. Process by which different protections in the Bill of Rights were incorporated into the 14th Amendment, thus guaranteeing citizens protection from state as well as national governments. All right, this talks about the Palco case. That sounds good. Palco versus Connecticut. Court gave its blessing to the preservation of a legal framework in which the states had the power to determine their own laws on a number of fundamental issues. In that case, a Connecticut court had found Frank Palco guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced him to life in prison. Unhappy with the verdict, no kidding, the state of Connecticut appealed the conviction. Unhappy with the verdict, the state of Connecticut appealed the conviction to its highest court, won the appeal, got a new trial, and then succeeded in getting Palco convicted of first-degree murder. Palco appealed the Supreme Court on what seemed an open and shut case of double jeopardy. Do y'all know what double jeopardy is?
Supreme and federalism in the states going against each other?
Federal or double jeopardy means O.J. Simpson can never be tried for killing those two people ever again because he was found not guilty. The prosecution has to do it right the first time. If he was found not guilty, if he's found guilty, O.J. Simpson could ask for a retrial. They get a do-over. The defense gets a do-over, the prosecution doesn't. That's why I got confused. He was Connecticut court. Okay. This doesn't make sense. Let me read it. Connecticut court had found Frank Palco guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced him to life in prison. Unhappy with the verdict, the state of Connecticut appealed. Oh, okay. Now I got it. He was found guilty of second-degree murder. State didn't think that was enough. And they tried him again and found him guilty of first-degree murder.
With a different jury?
Yeah, new trial. Palco appealed, seeing an open and shut case of double jeopardy, which is prohibited by the Fifth Amendment. Yet, although the majority of the court agreed that this could indeed be considered a case of double jeopardy, they decided that double jeopardy was not one of the provisions in the Bill of Rights incorporated into the 14th Amendment as a restriction of the powers of the states. It took more than 30 years for the court to nationalize the constitutional protection against double jeopardy, because states weren't, that didn't apply to states, that applied to the federal government. All right, selective incorporation. I guess that,
So I mean, states can still do double jeopardy then?
no,
Okay.
they since came back and said, well, no. Now, why, let's see. Now, it seems, okay. Never mind, I'm thinking too much. Let's see. Oh, someday I won't have to deal with this. Someday. The Establishment Clause. Y'all heard of the Establishment Clause? Has to do with the First Amendment. What's your first right in the First Amendment?
Freedom of speech.
Religion. It can't be forced on you, and it can't be kept from you. Remember that? They can't force you into religion. Establish your religion. If you hear about my beliefs, does that establish a religion? If I tell you, Jesus, you need Jesus in your life, does that affect your religious rights? If I give you a test and say, tell me about your relationship with Jesus, and if you don't, you fail. Can I do that? No, because that affects your life. The Establishment Clause means that has to do with government establishing a religion. So anytime you're suing, okay, if a courthouse, say Decatur, on the grounds, courthouse, they put up a nativity scene, could someone sue the city of Decatur for violating the Establishment Clause? What if they put up a satanic nativity, like the birth of Satan? You don't think so? Who bought that? Taxpayer money. Everybody bought that. Now, I'm like nativity scenes, so I drive by, I don't think anything about it. If you're an atheist, you drive by, what is the government telling you? This is what we believe in. This is what we stand for. Well, we don't. I do, but we don't. So they could sue that on the establishment, saying this is the government establishing, here's what we, and you use their money to do it. We used to have prayers over the intercom. I think we still did when I was in elementary. Yeah, I remember in elementary. It was against the law, we still kind of did it. What if they did a prayer over the intercom? Like someone got up there and said, Dear Lord, thank you, and praise Jesus. And what if they did that? Can that be done? Why or why not? I mean, I think it's not okay for someone to say a prayer over the intercom. Okay, how come? Who paid for that? Thank you, Anthony. Who paid for that? Who paid for that speaker? Everybody. Taxpayers. The wires, the microphone. And you're saying this is what you're establishing this is what we believe in. What's perfect about the moment of silence? You don't have to do nothing. Or you could be praying. And do you have to like that the person next to you is praying? No, you don't. You have to like the person not to you, Not to you. The person next to you is not praying. No. Guess what? I could be praying right now. Ooh. I could be talented. I could maybe do 2 or 3 different things. I don't like that. I'm offended. Great. You're in America. Okay. Awesome. Okay, that's the establishment clause. Now, let me throw a situation out there. Let's say a church has a drug program, not providing drugs, but helping people get off drugs.
San Francisco.
Okay? There's a church, and they have a drug rehab program. And it has a 78% success rate. And that city's government drug rehab program has a 35% success rate. Is there a problem with taking taxpayer dollars and using that to fund people going to this church drug rehab? I don't personally have a problem with it, but I'm also biased. I'm not anti-church. Could there be some basis for not allowing this? Because you're taking taxpayer dollars and you're using it to fund a drug rehab. Now, I guess in court, they would have to prove that none of this money, all this money is going towards just drug rehab stuff, and it's not funding anything else in the church. But that's an example of there's some gray area. We might, some people have a problem with it, some people don't. But that establishment clause is just about
It's still separation of church and state though. Like the church is still a major part of any town, so
Yes.
you'd have to interact.
Well, separation of church and state, it doesn't mean, and y'all probably understand, it doesn't mean you're not going to hear anything.
Right.
That the church, it just means the church is not going to control the government. Or that's not, they're not hand in hand with.
So they're gonna interact, and so like if the city thinks that drug rehab is gonna affect their patients better, you're not making a donation to the church, you're paying for the drug rehab.
Well, he's saying that if the church profits from
The drug rehab profits from it, but
No.
that one has a higher success rate. So
But
why
what
not?
if the church is utilizing this to upgrade facilities?
So what if it's a 501(c) and it's a non-profit drug rehab?
What if
Is
part
that
of it,
getting money
what
from
if
it?
part of the
Or
program
all you
is
do
they pray at the first of it, and they do some preaching in the middle of it?
It's Christian based, so what if those on the outside are trying to infiltrate, saying no?
There's where the questions come in. But the argument is, hey, this is working, yours isn't. So there's both there.
Numbers and money.
What if the Church of Satan has a drug rehab program? I don't know if they would.
They don't even want to manufacturing stuff. But
All right, let's see what else we got.
I think today we're maybe 69%.
All right, here's something. All right, we talked about how being offended. You can't not be offended.
Good.
We do have something now called, all right. Fighting words, hate speech. If I call you something, or I say something for the purpose of ticking you off, is that okay? I think it is, because it's my responsibility to not punch you in the mouth. But what if your purpose is, and you just keep on and keep on and keep on? There is consequences. But there's also consequences to me punching you in the face at the same time. There are some laws on the books, and I guess kind of with this, there was I tend to not agree with this. There was a murder several years ago down south. I want to say it was in, God, I can't believe I forgot the name of the town. It's where all the KKK stuff goes on. Which, by the way, if there's a KKK meeting, here's what I found. The news reports it. Because a KKK meeting, I guess that's a big news story. And you'll find 7 guys that haven't bathed in about 3 weeks. And about 25 reporters and TV trucks. And the guy with the most teeth does the talking. And it's almost like they're promoting, almost, because there's more people videoing it and reporting on it than there is idiots standing there. But there was, what's the name of the town? It's not Silsby. Oh my gosh, anyway. These white guys in a pickup. Off a kidnap, somehow they got this black guy. They chained him and drug him behind the truck, killing him. That's one of the worst murders I've ever heard of in my life. They added to, I'm talking way outside my rear right now, because this is 30 years ago or something. I think they were accused of a hate crime. Matter of fact, I know they were accused of a hate crime, which intensifies the punishment. If I kill you, let's say I kill Parker. Parker's another white guy. If I kill Parker, I killed him. Okay? If you're Hispanic and I kill you, and I'm on record as being racist, I still killed you. But it's like now, you really killed him, so we're really gonna, which I guess I get part of that, but if I kill you, I kill you. It ought to be I killed you. No, well, this is worse because you really hated this guy. Well, name the guy I love that I killed. You know, but we do make crimes. There's hate crimes, and there's hate speech, and there's fighting words, and you could get in trouble, and that could be used in a court against you. And I can see where if I call you an idiot, that's one thing, but if I say something, for instance, I'm so glad all this is going out on the World Wide Web forever, but this will come back and get me. During the game, we tell our guys, when they cuss you, when they cuss your mom, when they say things about you, you just smile at them and say, God loves you, and that really ticks them off. Because they want you to get mad. You said you help them out and say, God loves you, I'll be back for more next time. You know, look for me, I'll be back, I'll remember whatever. That's my smart aleck. He came off the field one time. And he said, I love him. So Trey's my kid. I've known Trey since he was a baby. We come to the sideline, he goes, Coach Rob, they're saying stuff about my dad. I was like, oh, all right, Trey. Score on next time. Now I don't know if they knew something, because I've never heard, you know, your dad, yeah, I heard it. Your mom, yeah, I've heard that all the time. That's gone on forever, but your dad, never heard that one. I don't know. But that is a little different. If you know something, that's a little different than saying your mom, you know. But still, if you are on purpose trying to get something out of this person, I can see where that is a little different than just, yeah, your mom goes to college, you know.
Your mom goes to college.
But there is, I don't know where that line is. You know, there's a line. I don't know how legally you define that line, but that does exist. You know, let me see what this says here. All right, I'm not going to say this whole thing because he cusses here, but in 1942, what's going on? World War II. In 1942, a man called a police officer a GD racketeer, which is a gangster, and a something that holds back water fascist. What's a fascist? A Nazi at that time. So he called him a Nazi during World War II. He was arrested and convicted of violating a state law forbidding the use of offensive language in public. When his case reached the Supreme Court, the arrest was upheld on the grounds the First Amendment provides no protection for such offensive language because such words are, quote, no essential part of any exposition of ideas. It's just talk. That's what you tell. Your words will never hurt me. That thing. You know. This decision was reaffirmed in the important 1951 case of Dennis versus the U.S. when the Supreme Court held that there is no substantial public interest in permitting certain kinds of utterances, the lewd and obscene, the profane, the libelous, libel and slander. Did we talk about that the other day? If I say that, if I'm arrested and you say, you're a murderer, okay, you can't say that yet because I'm not a murderer convicted yet. And the insulting or fighting words, those which by their very utterance inflict injury or tend to incite an immediate breach of the peace. Since that time, however, the Supreme Court has reversed almost every conviction based on arguments that the speaker had used fighting words. Them's fighting words. That's pretty good. Good movies. Yellow Bird. All right. Y'all are fixing to go off to school. Some of y'all. You're going to go off to some college somewhere. Maybe. Well, you never know. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? I don't know. Colleges should be a place where you are exposed to different ideas. And you get to figure out what's right and what's not, and what's good and what's bad. I'm not saying you ought to dive into, the drug rehab, whatever, But I believe this. I believe this. I believe this. Colleges shouldn't have as much censorship on beliefs and ideas and talking. You know what I mean? If there's anywhere where you're allowed to say what you feel, and here's what I believe, it ought to be colleges, but most colleges are like clamping down and like, if you believe this or say this, you don't have a right to talk. We're not going to let this person come talk. We're not going to let this person come talk. I don't like that. I would not want them to say, we're not going to let Barack Obama come here because he's too liberal to talk. It might be dangerous for him to say something. I want my kid to hear a Buddhist guy talk about his beliefs. I want my kid to hear it because I want him to understand and know, here's what I believe, here's why I believe it. But in a lot of schools, you are not allowed. You might be in trouble for saying certain things or believing certain things. Or in that, if anywhere where you shouldn't, it should be like a college here. Supreme Court in 2007 ruled that high school student speech can be restricted. I'm for that. College, I think it's a little different. The court found that the school principal had not violated the student's right to free speech by, they had a banner, here's a picture of them. It says, "Bong hits for Jesus." Now you can't, as a school, you can't have that. College, if you want to do that, okay. Those things don't go together. If you understand either one of those, it doesn't go together. But yeah, in high school, your free speech is restricted because you want to make sure we're able to teach and stuff. That's why we have dress code. Less distractions. That's why we make guys cut their hair. And they always realize it at track meets. They go to track meets and look around and go, golly. So that's why we do it. You got the guy that has like 6 hairs sticking out this long. That's why we do it, guys, to save you from yourself. That's why we do this, so you don't look like that. We had a guy in college, we called him Wolfman. He had about 18 hairs on each side. It was that long. What are you doing? Just get rid of it. Not a good look. What can the press do? What's the press allowed to do?
Right, true.
They can print and report the truth.
They're very-
Libel and slander. We'll probably have some stuff on this. Libel and slander has to do, like I said, if you're arrested for murder, they can't print you're a murderer or Ryle murder student. That would be libel. Slander is if you say it like in a news conference or something. So that protects you. Prior restraint. That's a good one. Prior restraint. In America, what if Parker hears me say, I'm going to blow up such and such? Or he thinks he heard that. Can they arrest me? They could question me. They could maybe get a search warrant, search my house. If they don't find anything, can they arrest me? No. What if, and this is where it's tricky in America, what if some girl dumps me? God, that's a broken record. And I don't leave her alone. And I keep hanging around her house. And I go running. I run through a neighborhood. And I'm driving through a neighborhood. Am I allowed to drive where I want? Yeah, I can say, well, I work over here. Right? Can they arrest me if I haven't done anything illegal? No. We can't arrest you for something we think you might do. Because you have to be guilty. Other countries can do that, and they're safer. Other countries are safer. We're less safe because we're more free. Prior restraint means prior restraint would be we'd be allowed to do that. I think that guy looks guilty. Let's go get him. And then they arrest him. Well, he can't do anything now. Now, could that help in certain situations? Could that help some girls not get beat up? Yeah. Could it help some things not blow up? Yeah. But we don't do that. And there's been let me see what this. 1931, Neer versus Minnesota, the Supreme Court held that except under the most extraordinary circumstances, First Amendment of the Constitution prohibits government agencies from seeking to prevent newspapers or magazines from publishing whatever they wish. You can't, like if a newspaper keeps printing, the mayor's stupid, or the mayor's doing all this, he's ruining the city. That's not libel or slander, and you can't block newspapers from printing something you don't like about you or about this thing. Or today it would be like a radio show from saying things like, Trump's an idiot. Trump should be this. Trump should be. You can't stop. They get to say that.
It's their version of the truth.
Yeah. And same thing with Barack Obama. Same thing saying about you're free to say certain things as long as it's not libel or slander. You can't arrest someone because you don't like them. You can't stop a news report because you don't like it. We're free. Let's see what else. Couple more and then we'll stop. All right, exclusionary rule. Exclusionary. If evidence is going to be used in a trial, like the murder weapon, they find the murder weapon and it has the same bullet, they can prove if a gun's been used in the murder. Just the way, I don't know how they do that. They can prove that this gun shot this bullet and it has this marking on it and all that stuff. But if they don't go through the proper channels, if they didn't get that evidence right, then it gets thrown out. That evidence is not allowed. which is to protect innocent people, but that means some guilty people go free. This it prohibits evidence obtained during an illegal search from being introduced in a trial. Acting on a tip that Dolly Mapp was harboring a suspect in a bombing incident, several policemen forcibly entered Mapp's house, claiming they had a warrant to look for the bombing suspect. They didn't have a warrant. The police did not find the bombing suspect, but in an old trunk in the basement, they did find some materials they declared to be obscene. Although no warrant was ever produced, the evidence that was seized was admitted by a court. Mapp was charged and convicted of illegal possession of obscene materials, and then that was thrown out. That conviction was thrown out because Supreme Court never declares guilt or innocence. They don't care who committed the murder or who did it. All they look at is, was the Constitution followed? Was the Constitution done? Was all their rights followed? Was the court done right? And if it wasn't, they just say that decision's overturned and you get a retrial done correctly. So you're not going free. Supreme Court doesn't free you. Supreme Court doesn't find you guilty. They decide whether something was okay or not. So they had a retrial, and I guess I don't know what happened to her. Dolly Mapp, I guess you can look it up. What else we got? Last one. Y'all know the difference between a jury and a grand jury?
Isn't a grand jury closed?
Some of them. Yes, it is. A jury is for a trial. And they declare guilt or innocence.
Grand jury's right here.
Grand jury, there could be the main grand jury. I was on the grand jury twice. You could pick a grand jury for a specific case if it's big. You could normally have a grand jury for 6 months, and the DA will bring 20 cases to you. In Wise County, we'd meet in the morning once a month, and they'd bring like 20 cases. And for 5 minutes, they'd explain, here's what this case is about. And the grand jury decides, is there going to be a trial or not? They don't try the case. They just hear, is there enough here to have a trial? And the DA will say, we asked for bill or no bill. Bill means that we want to have a trial. And then they leave and you sit there and vote on it. And you talk about it. One time, the DA brought a case to us and said, we do not want this going to trial, but I have to present this. And it was like a 17-year-old boy and a 14-year-old girl, and the mom hated the boy, and so it was if we went to trial, this boy could be a sexual offender for the rest of his life, and he said that's not what this rule is about. And so we all said no trial. But the grand jury does not do guilt or innocence, just there's going to be a trial or not. So could a case go before the grand jury several times? Yeah, that's not double jeopardy because you're not guilty or innocent. They might have more evidence. So you can go before a grand jury several times. Double jeopardy, we talked about eminent domain. We talked about eminent domain. Remember eminent domain? Government could force you to sell your stuff. Okay. Good enough. We'll watch the rest of this tomorrow. You excited? What in the world? That didn't sound. This is not chemistry. This ain't algebra. Golly, I heard y'all chuckle twice. I think you chuckled in algebra class ever. So. Yeah, I really look forward to this. Okay. Good enough. Thank you, Jenna Banner. You want this?
No, you want it.
Good enough.
We don't need it till 5.
Fine. Okay, good.
Oh, extra.